We're broadcasting now.
Okay, welcome back to the city council meeting that we had opened up at 5:30. There was a closed session item. At this time, I'll turn it over either to the city attorney or the vice mayor. I was conflicted out on that item, so I don't know if there was anything to report out.
Is the city attorney there? No. We gave staff direction.
Okay. All right, with that, as a reminder, members of the public are advised that cellular telephones and other communication devices are to be turned off during the city council meeting. We've already had roll call. All of the council members are present, so we will move to the invocation by Pastor Jim Stockwell from the Harvest Presbyterian Church.
Great. Thanks for allowing me to come. God, may your name be praised. We thank you for our city and for those who serve us so well. We pray that you would bless tonight's meeting, guide all decisions, great and small, with wisdom, empower clear speaking and even clearer hearing. And God, we pray your mercy upon firefighters fighting these blazes here in Northern California, and indeed all over the state, and those impacted by those dreadful fires. So we ask that you would smile on this meeting tonight, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Next, we'll move to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have no presentations this evening, so we will move to citizens' communication to the council on matters not included on the agenda. While the city council welcomes and encourages participation in city council meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes for expression of non-agenda items. Matters under the jurisdiction of the city council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public. However, California law prohibits the city council from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda, unless it is determined to be an emergency by the city council. Citizens are entitled to address the city council on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. At this time, is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on a non-agenda item? If so, please raise your hand to request to speak. That's on the hand icon at the bottom of your screen. So it looks like we have a few. The first one, Mr. Yakeley.
Your mic is unmuted, Mr. Yakeley.
Okay. Yes, I got about 3 things that I'd like to come across today. One of them I want to know tonight, are they going to vote on this contract for the garbage pickup in the city?
No, this is just getting direction from council.
Okay. Okay. So now I want to thank those in the city of Sirius who have chosen to run for public office. As citizens in Sirius, or a citizen in Sirius once told me that sometimes competition brings change. And he liked to encourage those running for office. That were new people, wait a minute, getting here. Okay, I gotta flip the page here. With that, I want to also ask all the candidates, those running to keep their positions and those trying for this position for the first time, to go back in all those papers you signed to run for office and read the rules about sign placement in the city of Sirius. This includes the print about placement for street and sidewalks and yard signs, and you give to your friends and neighbors, what have you. In the requirements, it states that you that the candidates are responsible for all placement of all campaign signs, not someone helping you or you are paying for someone to do it for you. Please do the right thing and go by the rules and not by what you think are the rules and someone that might have fought what they are and tried to tell you for the rules for running for public office. Have a good, successful campaign. And the street vendors thing we talked about last city council meeting, I'm still kind of curious about that. Does the city of Ceres, and I think Tom Westbrook brought that up, that the county had the say-so on what we could do, but I just want to go over this again. The city of Ceres on the street vendors, does the city of Ceres really have the right to take product away from the vendors by law? If so, those selling the products, if they have no ID or business license placed on their, where they're selling or their card or whatever, or health card on them, who gets cited? Has anyone been cited since the last city council meeting?
Mayor, do you want me to respond to that?
Sure, go right ahead.
Not aware if anybody's been cited, Gene. And at this point, there is no provisions for the city to confiscate any of the food products that those vendors have. It was simply discussion at the last meeting. So there's nothing in the current code that would allow us to do that.
But I thought you said the county in the last meeting, and the county said that was allowable.
The county has it in their ordinance. The city of Ceres does not.
Oh, so are we going to go in a direction where the council can vote on something like that?
At some point, that would be considered, yes.
What's the movement right now on trying to curtail that? I hope it's not because of what's on the internet.
I don't know if I follow your question, sir.
Well, there's all these people on the internet through the Ceres Courier are protesting this thing, and they actually got a GoFundMe, and they've got like what, $4,800 to help pay for all these people, and I don't see nothing wrong with that. But you know, we have to have rules, and you know, if we just keep letting them go, it's just going to go longer and longer, and you know, the norm becomes the norm, and you know, nothing changes.
What I can say is that since that article was published in the Courier, we have had about a half a dozen folks call the city to inquire about getting the permits, and that's the goal, is to get them the permits they need.
And it is the understanding that if they do get to that part of just permit part, is it before they get the permit that they have to have the okay from the county with the a health card?
Yes.
That's a first requirement?
Yep.
And then the
Application.
process of, okay, all right. Well, good luck to them. And God help Ceres. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Mr. Brandt.
Hey, good evening, council.
There you
I
go.
was just curious, what's going on with Walmart? Here we go.
At this point, sir, the final map is tracking to be at the next city council meeting on September 14th. It would be their final map and their subdivision improvement agreement. So city engineer Padilla and I are working with Walmart to get that at the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, looks like we have an individual named John.
Yes, Mayor, I will unmute his mic.
And can we have your name for the record, please?
John, I've tried to unmute your mic twice. Let me try a third time.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm using a different device. John Warren, City of Ceres. Good evening, council members. It's been some time since I've been able to address your meeting. I was curious to bring back your discussion from last week in regards to fireworks in the City of Ceres. I know there was considerable discussion about that. In reviewing the notes and the minutes that staff provided for this meeting, I noticed that Sam Rhino Park had some vandalism that was caused by the discharge of fireworks in the playground area. And the estimated cost of the repair was close to $6,000. So I wasn't sure if this was the proper time, but I would hope that council would consider and bring back in a timely manner before we get into next year, the fireworks issue, and make some kind of decision and discussion going forward. The cost to the city because of this, maybe the fireworks purchased in another town, I'm not sure of that. But anyway, if the sale of fireworks had not have happened, then maybe this damage or discharge in the improper location would not have occurred. So thank you for listening to me this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like the next speaker is Yasmin.
Yasmin, I will unmute your mic. Your
Hi,
mic
guys.
is unmuted.
Hi, my name is Yasmin Perez, and I'm a resident in Ceres, and I'm just calling regarding the street vendors. I know that Jean said people were calling in, so it's citizens of Ceres, Jean, that are concerned that in a time of COVID and a time where people are losing their jobs, we're going to be enforcing them to do street permits right now, which is, that's your guys' focus right now, is getting vendors to get permits. Like, that's the most important thing that we should be worrying about, is let's make this complicated and more work for them during, that's their only livelihood during this time. That's so shocking to me that you guys would even discuss doing permits right now, especially since we're socially distancing. Are they gonna I mean, how are you guys gonna roll this out? And I really do hope that you guys take a vote, because most citizens in Ceres are not supporting you guys doing this right now at this time. I get it that permits, people want them, whatever, we could do them, but right now at this time, this is what you guys are choosing to focus on, is victimizing vendors that are making a living. Are you guys kidding me? And it's a shame that.
Excuse me, I'd like to address that first. First of all, we can't really discuss this item because it wasn't on the agenda, but I can tell you this, what we gave was direction. It was not an ordinance. It was not a resolution. And we're not trying to go out and take product from the vendors. I'm not sure why you have an issue with someone getting a permit. We all have to wear masks to keep us safe, yet there is no regulations for someone that doesn't have a permit that's serving food and drink on a street corner. And all that we're asking, just like all of our brick and mortar buildings, you have to go through the same process that they go through. Why should you be any different, or they should be any different than someone who goes through that process? I understand that people are hurting. We're not trying to harm anyone. We're just saying, in order for you to be like all of the other businesses, you have to go through that process, pandemic or no pandemic. That's the reality. I mean, if we all want to be safe by wearing masks, shouldn't you be safe by the food and the drink that you eat from a vendor that hasn't gone through county public health? So that's what we're saying. I'm sure that the council will bring this item back for further discussion, because again, we cannot discuss it this evening, but we will bring it back for discussion and formal direction. Whether we can or cannot collect product is yet to be determined. And we would not collect that product from someone that we went up to the first time. It would only have been if we had gone to them 5 or 6 times and they continued not to pursue a permit. So I just want you to know the city council is not trying to harm anyone in any way, shape, or form. We just have to make sure that everybody plays by the same rules and that all of our citizens are safe with all the food and drink products that they eat. So that's what we're saying. And again, we can't take any action. I've probably already spoken way more than I should, because again, this is not an agenda item, but I did want you to know that I think what has been portrayed out to the public is something way farther than what the council discussed. No formal action has been taken. I'm sure we will have a further discussion on it, and we'd be more than happy to keep you in that loop when that discussion does happen.
Okay, awesome. So I think that you misunderstood me. I'm not opposing the permits. I didn't say let's not do it. I just said the timing is horrible, which it is. Doing permits right now is horrible. Also, I've been on here a few times, and you bringing up the mask, I've brought it up with with council members in the past about wearing masks, and you guys didn't enforce businesses till way late to enforce the mask. So you comparing wearing a mask to this scenario is different. And if you want to go back to your actions about enforcing masks, we can go back because you guys were very delayed in enforcing masks for the public.
Again, that's a whole nother subject that is not on the agenda for us to discuss.
Okay, awesome. I will reach out to your office and have a conversation with you, hopefully.
Okay,
Great, thank you.
thank you. Looks like the next speaker is Marco.
I will unmute your mic. Marco, I'll send another request requesting you to unmute your mic. Marco, I'll send a third request to unmute your mic. I've sent 3 requests, Mayor, to unmute the mic.
Okay, let's move to the next one. There's not a name, there's just a phone number.
Okay. I will unmute your mic. Your mic is unmuted. Let me try once more.
Hi there, I'm calling in for my cell phone. Am I unmuted now?
We can
Yes,
hear you,
you are.
sir.
Awesome. My name is Jesse Magana for the record. I just wanted to quickly make a comment about, I know that you said we can't talk about it and that later on the permits will be brought up. Number one, I just want to bring up that, you know, the young woman who spoke before me wasn't done speaking before she was interrupted. So I just want to make sure that folks are able to openly express themselves at these meetings. Otherwise, they feel like when they come to the meetings, they can't then share their opinion, right? And I think that the whole point of these meetings and this public comment section is for people to feel comfortable speaking to their council members at a time like this when they have an issue to bring to your attention, right? Number two, I think that, again, she was misinterpreting what she was saying, and I'm not trying to speak for her. But I think the bigger issue is that in this city, one thing that I've noticed a lot since my 25 years of living here is that a lot of folks don't get information that is needed to be able to do things that you all want them to do, right? There's like a really big problem with trying to communicate in this city. Is that like the only way people find out information is through the Series Courier, which in my opinion isn't a really good form of announcement making, if you will, right? You know, the Series Courier, for lack of a better term, has its own issues that it faces with the way that it represents media. And I think that if you really want people to sign up for these permits, and if that's the one thing that you want them to do, one, the comments of like throwing people's things in the dumpsters and then saying that you want to get their attention, okay, etc., like that's fine. But understand that these are folks who are possibly low income, are just trying to work to put food on their family's table, just like you all are working through not only a global pandemic, which is a health crisis that severely affects Black and brown people, are also working through unhealthy air quality and some of the state's largest fires, one of them not being that far from the city, and two, through heat waves, right, that have set record number of heat and temperature records. So just think about those things. Yes, I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to get people to follow the rules, whatever the rules are, however you want them to do that. But also maybe think about how can you work with community-based organizations and disseminating funds to be able to help these folks pay for these permits. Or how are you dispersing media to tell people that you're now moving to enforce these policies? Those are questions that should be really thoughtful in the process of trying to make policies like this, because otherwise, really what it seems like is that you're just terrorizing Black and brown communities who are just trying to make a living for themselves. And that might not be what you're doing, but that's exactly how it seems. And so you might not think the words that you speak at these meetings are heard, but when someone reads something in the newspaper, it's basically an interpretation of what you're saying. And so when I see that you're just saying, like, we're just going to throw them in the dumpster, as if it's no kind of empathy for the people who are, while it might not be their product, they might be working for someone, at the same time, it's money that they're making to put food on their family's table because they don't have any other option at a time like this in the midst of a global pandemic. And so those are some things maybe you all can think about as you move towards making policy and then thinking about these things. But also, like I said at the beginning, please understand that when people are trying to speak at these meetings, don't interrupt them. Don't come to them with aggression, because I don't know who is speaking because I'm calling from my cell phone, but it sounded like you're getting really defensive. And it's unnecessary at a time where folks are just trying to voice their concern for the general public and for the community, because it seems that sometimes the community, not the people who are in charge in places of power, have more care for each other than anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Just one question I would ask you, sir. Did you take part in the meeting that we had about the discussion? I'm not sure if he hung up or not.
No, I'm sorry. I did not hear what you said.
My comment was, did you take part, or were you able to take part in the discussion that we had about this subject at the last meeting?
I was not. That's why I'm saying that sometimes what you say and then the way that it's interpreted by our wonderful series courier might not be what you were trying to say, but at the same time, it's the way that it comes off and the way that the public receives it.
Yeah, I would just say that I don't think I can remember any of the council members saying we should just take the product and throw it in the dumpster.
I have the series courier article right here in front of me, and it says that the Vice Mayor Linda Rhino said, Series Police Captain Pat Crane responded in the dumpster like the county does. So it may not have been a council member, but someone who represents the city.
Sure. Okay. Well, I would encourage you to, again, take part in this. I'm sure we'll have a future discussion about it. The goal is not to harm anyone or to take anybody's product. The only goal is to make sure that everyone is safe by the vendors that are out there.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. It looks like it's John, but is this John that already had the public comment?
So do you want me to
It
unmute?
appears to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've already had his 5 minutes of public comment. Is that correct, Tom? I mean, I don't want to dislimit anybody, but that's the reason we have the 5-minute time limit.
I just confirm it's the same person.
Right, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the council on a non-agenda item? I see there's one individual on the phone, on a phone call listener. Would that person like to speak?
I think that was the last speaker, Mayor.
Oh, okay.
That was Jesse McGonya.
Okay. All right, with that, if there's no one else that would like to speak, and you haven't received any emails, Diane?
No, Mayor, no emails.
Okay. All right, before we move on, again, I know there's been a lot of discussion or concern about the street vendor items, and I'm sure that that item will come back to the council for further discussion. At this point, the only thing that was given was direction, so there is no formal ordinance or resolution on the books yet. That would yet to come. So, I would encourage all of you that are listening that want to take part in that discussion. That will probably be upcoming. So, So with that, we will move to appointments to boards and commissions. We have none. Conflict of interest declaration. Is there anyone on the council that would like to declare conflict of interest on any of the 11 consent calendar items or the 3 discussion items? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or the public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by roll call vote. This time, is there anyone on the council that would like a consent calendar item pulled for further discussion?
Number 10.
Number 10, was that
Yes.
Councilmember Condit?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Items 8 and 9.
8 and 9, okay. All right, is there anyone in the public that would like a consent calendar item pulled other than 8, 9, and 10? Okay, looks like none. So this time I'll look for direction for the other items.
Move to adopt 1, 2, 3A, 4, 5A, and B, 6, 7, and 11.
Second. Can we have a motion and a second? Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Condit,
Aye.
Councilmember Durasett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhino,
Yes.
Councilmember Klein,
Yes.
and Mayor Vieira.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, item number 8, resolution number 2020 looks like that's 82?
92.
92, sorry. Authorizing the acceptance of the public benefit grant program through the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District for the purchase of new alternative fuel vehicles and authorize the finance director to execute a budget amendment. Vice Mayor Rhino?
I have a couple questions for Mr. Damas. Does the grant cover all costs, or is there additional monies needed to outfit these vehicles?
Nope, all costs.
All costs. And then the other thing I saw was there's a price quote in the very back for the gym, but I don't see anything for the other 3 vehicles.
Say that again. I'm sorry. I didn't catch it.
Attachment 5 shows a quote for the gym, the GEM, but I don't see a price quote for the other 3 vehicles.
They're all the same. All four vehicles are the same.
Because I thought one of them said it was a Kawasaki something.
No, they're these gyms right here.
Well, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's replacing the Kawasaki mule.
Correct.
All right.
Sorry.
Those were my only 2 questions then.
Anyone on the council have any questions on this item? All right, is there anyone in the public that has any questions on this item? Okay, I don't see any hands, so I'll bring it back to the council for direction on this item.
Move to adopt resolution number 2020-92.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Condit,
Aye.
Councilmember Durasett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhino,
Yes.
Councilmember Klein,
Yes.
and Mayor Vieira.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Resolution number 2020-93, approving a First Amendment to the license to use agreement with Big Valley Grace Community Church, Inc., and authorizing the city manager to execute the amendment. Vice Mayor Rhino?
A couple questions for Mr. Lohr. How did you come up with the price that we would be charging the church? The reduction?
Is that the original price or the current price they're asking for?
The proposed price.
Proposed price was proposed by BVG, and we did some numbers, and it was acceptable based on outdoor services versus indoor services and those costs.
Okay, so the soccer fields rent to nonprofits for $30 an hour?
Correct.
So what are you considering rental for the soccer fields? Because you have the rental for the soccer fields and then the large assembly, correct? That should,
The large assembly rents for them usually on a Sunday, the whole building, I think around about a little over $1,000. So when we did the fields, they rent $30 an hour and they're there 7 to 8 hours, so about $240. So about a quarter of the price of the building.
so the large assembly is where they hold their church services now?
Actually, they use the whole building. So even when they came back after the governor let us offer services in June, they're only allowed to use the large and small, not the small classrooms. So basically, the price of what they were paying before the pandemic was about a little over $1,000 a time. So when they came back, they weren't allowed to use everything that they used to either.
Okay, so now in addition to when things open up again,
Mm-hmm.
they would have the use of the whole building on Sunday
Correct.
and the large assembly on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
6 in the morning till 9:30 at night, but it would revert back to the original price, which did not include the large assembly?
The large assembly wasn't, it was basically with council meetings and stuff on Mondays, we've moved them over to the large assembly to make sure that, the room is ready for council, especially with COVID-19. So putting them into the large assembly on a Monday, we can't rent that out. So we wanted to work with them to ensure success if, they wanted to do a women's Bible group and everything. So it fit well keeping them in that room on Monday, since they originally really wanted the small assembly on Mondays.
Okay, so when Save Mart or other corporations would come in and they would want to rent the large assembly,
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't rent it. They used to rent it, but then they stopped because our audio equipment wasn't very good. So in essence, now that room will not be rentable to anyone other than on Mondays to any corporation, which was kind of one of the selling points, I thought, was by allowing the church to come in and use our building, we'd get this new AV equipment, which could potentially get us back some of our corporate businesses.
Sure. Oh,
Including that, because we can't do that on Mondays.
I want to share with you over the past 3 years, the room has been rented never by a corporation. It's only been used by the school district or the city police department. So we've had 0 rentals on Mondays. Usually those rentals are on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So this felt like a good fit, especially with them not being able to use the small assembly originally, to move over to the large. Help, they're a very important piece of the community center and a great partner. But again, in our research and working with the city manager, we found out that the room was only being used, again, a couple times by the police department in the past few years, a retirement party, and the school district, which BVG has said they would work with us if those kinds came up, or if the council had a large meeting that we could have the meeting, they would move to another location.
Okay. And then for their office, moving to the computer room that we have now, we're no longer doing the
Computer lab. The computer lab lease ends at the 1st of October, so we're in the process of packing that up and getting it back to them. That is about a $35,000 expense, I think, a year or so. I don't quote me on that price. That it goes against the community center deficits. So I think last year the kind of city manager Wells asked you guys, and it was kind of agreed the computer lab let the lease expire on that.
Okay, so when you say we're packing it up and we're giving it back, who are we giving it back to?
It's leased through HP, Hewlett Packard.
Okay, so that means that the office would not move until October when we shut it down, or they would move sooner than that?
It's probably sooner. In the next couple of weeks, we're looking to get the computer shipped back around 1st of September. With the community center not reasonably going to be open before October, we're trying to get everything moved and some rooms painted and some upkeep done before we reopen to the public.
And are there individual computer connections, or is there just one computer connection for that room?
Each computer is connected to the Wi-Fi, the internet. So I don't know exactly what you're looking for there, but each computer has its own connection.
Okay, So if we're doing away with the computer lab, then when we get rid of the computers, we're also going to be getting, we're not going, the city will no longer be paying for those individual internet charges.
We pay for a whole internet connection into the community center business rate that's pretty high. What's nice about losing computer lab, again, the computer lab wasn't overly abundantly used, is that will help with rentals and stuff that will have a better connection speed with that we can provide them for their services when we want Save Mart and Hoops in there.
Okay, so does that mean that we will disconnect all of those computer labs and then computer lab connections? Or then the church can just have one in that office, or they're going to have to be able to use all of them, because then we're still using as many as we did before?
Per the original agreement, the church provides their own internet, so they have a connection through AT&T to where we're going to reconnect them. Right now, they have an AT&T connection up in the room above them. We're going to be moving that AT&T connection down, so they do not take away for their business use any of our internet connection. Only on Sundays for their church services.
So will we be capping our internet so no one can use it in that room?
Working with IT on that, there's some discussion of, of other options there if there's stuff. So we are working on that. They won't be able to connect into the internet because you need to have a password and a login. So that will keep them from tapping into that if they wanted to.
Okay. Then going to the page where it's the First Amendment to the agreement.
Okay.
It says weekly Sunday church services. It says one use per month, but isn't it every Sunday?
No, they're only using about once per month. They did start in July. And they started in August. They're going to have one again this month, but next month. So it's one per time. So the original one, I don't have the date in front of me, was about first week in August. That was part of the July rent because we counted that. Part of that was they already paid the month of full July. So they're only planning to have one, and we have had those scheduled, one in September and one in October.
Okay. And then back to the Monday outreach services of the large assembly and kitchen only.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is what exactly is outreach services?
And that may be a word I used working with them, but outreach is trying to build their congregation. And they wanted to do a women's Bible group. So maybe that was a misinterpretation that may mean homeless or something. That is for a women's Bible group that will be pretty large and will support them being a new church site. I mean, BVG has a larger campus that will help support the success of them continuing this rental on an ongoing basis after, the rental does end next July 8th, and we're hoping they will renew. And this will help support them to get them to that point to hopefully renew with us.
So a woman's Bible study needs the building from 6 in the morning until 9:30 at night?
No, they do not. But the challenge is what the council has requested that the small assembly not be used on Monday mornings, which has their main group. We've moved them over into the large assembly. We can't just turn that room over that quick for business to come in, especially with COVID-19. So it made sense keeping them in that room and working with them, to support some of their needs they need.
Okay, well, I'll say that my concern is with the word outreach and the large period, and that it involves the kitchen. My concern is that it will be turning into a homeless situation where they're going to have feeding the homeless or whatever. And I don't want to see that happen. And I know that a lot of my constituents don't want to see that happen because they've already complained about the homeless. So I don't believe our community center is the place that we set up a room that's going to become used for homeless.
And I think that's just a misinterpretation, a word maybe I use, that, maybe district. I don't think that is their, but I do also have their pastor, Tim Genioso, on the line if he wants to speak up to that. I don't think that was our use of the word. Probably there's a misunderstanding. That was more for the women's Bible study group and stuff.
All right, well, maybe if he is online, he could address that.
Diane, can you bring Tim over from the public side?
Yes. I will unmute his mic.
It looks like he's still muted, Diane.
Right, I will try another time. Unmute.
Is it possible that he's muted on his end,
I
Diane?
think so. I've already unmuted his mic. I'll try a third time, and I sent a request asking him to start his video. There we go.
Okay. He's telling me he doesn't have control of his mic. Right? So I do apologize. He just texted me. But I'll discuss.
There he is. Looks like
Okay.
he's unmuted now, or he disappeared completely.
No, he's there. Tim, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, there you are. Yay.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time and this consideration. What kind of question can I specifically answer for you?
Well, my concern is with the Monday use of the large assembly and kitchen, that staff has it in the contract as outreach services. And my concern is because it's from 6 a.m. until 9:30 at night, that the intent of the church might be to open a drop-in homeless type of center.
Our church has no plans to have a homeless drop-in center whatsoever. It's never been part of our agenda. We don't do it on our Modesto campus, and we wouldn't do it on our Ceres campus. We do hope to help the community in a myriad of ways. We hope to be able to help the community in providing a lot of different services, but we have never desired to have a homeless resting center or to provide meals within the community center or anything like that at all.
Thank you. I would be okay with this contract if we could change that verbiage and get rid of the outreach services and something that, I would think that they may not want to call it just for the women's Bible study. It might be more than just the women's Bible study, or I'm not sure how that can.
Currently, churches have been, basically dismantled during this whole thing. And so we don't know what we get to do in the future. And we're just hoping to be able to minister to people's needs within our congregation and within the community. And so we hope that we can do a women's Bible study, just like we're trying to offer the space that we're paying for the veterans to be able to use and other things like that. And so we're doing our very best to just be able to open up anything that we're paying for the city to be able to use or to access, as well as we've already made an agreement that if we are able to have something on Monday nights, we will be absolutely flexible to whatever the needs are of the city, because that's why we desired to partner with Ceres, is because we cared about that city and that part of our county.
And I wanted to just chime in. He said something about veterans, and we've been approached by the Veterans Association to do counseling at our building, and they needed more days and space. And then unfortunately, this is kind of pandemic in that time, just before the pandemic, we weren't able to offer them a lot because our building was pretty full. And I approached Tim and asked him, hey, you have that extra space. Would you mind that they could counsel in there? Because part of this is there's some privacy and some different entrance in, and BVG stepped up. So, I know a lot of counseled veterans. That's very high importance to, I know the council, I've been attending the meeting, so I really think BVG being that player and that partner I call, that would allow us to be able to expand those services to the public without affecting other programs and services. So that's why I wanted to just clarify that, the veterans part. But thank you, Tim, for your support on that.
Absolutely.
So can we call it something other than outreach services? So somewhere down the line, we suddenly don't have an issue? Is there something that it referred
And
to?
would you, there's a better word to use? I know, we probably didn't see that as that, but maybe just additional or just church or
You can just call it, you can call it congregational care.
congregational care. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Those would be my only questions. Thank you, Pastor.
Absolutely.
Any other comments?
Yeah, real quick, Mayor, can you hear me? This is Brett.
Yes.
Yeah, I know I had long talks with Matt over the subject, and I'm glad he reached out, and we had, I think BVG is a great partner for the city, obviously with COVID, having them an opportunity to go to a place such as Valley Christian, and even if it's one day a month to be able to have service. Obviously the community center is a thing that has been one of those that, me being on the city council, attending 300 plus meetings throughout this time is about the beginning when I was there. It's kind of like, them being there today and before COVID, that was such a great thing for the city of Ceres. I know Joel, the pastor there, Matt helping restructure that to give them the opportunity and Tim to be able to do what they do for the citizens of our community is phenomenal. So I just wanted to say, obviously with the government shutting, the opportunity for them to go inside to be able to have service. And, we got to do it outside and we obviously have to change some things. So I know we've been in the process of doing that for a while now, but I'm just glad they're here in Ceres. So.
Well, thank you. We're excited to be there, and we have appreciated all the help that the city's given us, and it's been great to work with Matt and Tom, and everybody's just been incredibly helpful to us.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this item? Please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for direction on this item.
Move to adopt resolution 2020-93 with the change in verbiage from Monday outreach services to Monday congregational care.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Member Condit,
Aye.
Councilmember Durasett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhino,
Yes.
Councilmember Klein,
Yes.
and Mayor Vieira.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, item number 10, resolution number 2020-94. Approving a resolution regarding the city's intention to issue tax exempt obligations to fund a portion of the Stanislaus Regional Water Authority water supply project. Councilmember Condit?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a few questions. Mr. Westbrook, if you can answer those, I'd appreciate it. Just for clarification, have we obtained the water rights for this project?
Yes, conversation with Public Works Director Damas indicates that they have been secured.
Okay, excellent. We secured those recently.
Yes. Jeremy, do you know when those rights were secured?
In the last 2 months.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yep.
Mr. Westbrook, can you also just clarify what the SRF is and kind of how it works? And I guess.
Yeah. State revolving fund. I'm going to give Jeremy the baton. He can explain a little bit more about that.
All right. Thank you.
So we are currently applying for a state revolve fund loan, which is California money, state of California monies to fund the project in its total. The project itself is 190 million was awarded to Jacobs for the design build of the project. Our share is just under 100 million at this point. Okay. So what this allows us to do is bridge a loan. The SRF loan won't come to fruition for about 6 months. And between now and that time, invoices are coming in from the design build firm. So we need to pay the bills. That's what this loan does. As soon as the SRF loan comes to fruition, we will submit an invoice to get paid back.
Okay. And is this SRF loan, is it tied to Prop 68 at all or no?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
It may, I'm not sure.
Okay, and just to be clear, Mr. Westbrook, Mr. Damas, who would ever like to speak up, this does not cost the city anything. This is money from the state, essentially. Yeah.
We will get reimbursed.
Okay, but the bond, the SRF is coming from the state of California.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
Are there any other comments? Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for direction.
Okay, I move to approve resolution number 2020-94.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Member Condit,
Aye.
Councilmember Durasett,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhino,
Yes.
Councilmember Klein,
Yes.
and Mayor Vieira.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we have no unfinished business, no public hearings, and no new business, so we'll move to the discussion items. Item number 12, Bertolotti Disposal Solid Waste Contract. Mr. Westbrook.
Yep, Jeremy has a PowerPoint presentation that he'll be presenting. Jeremy, you gonna run that from your end, sir?
Yes, I'm working on that now. Okay, that didn't work. Hang on.
You should be able to go to share screen at the bottom, and then you just have to pick your PowerPoint out of the list and then hit share.
Got it. Okay. We good to go?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and council members. Tonight, I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about the garbage, organics, and recycling program, where we stand with Cal Recycle and Bertolotti, and I'd like to get some direction. So the first few slides are some of the assembly bills that we're working with. The first assembly bill is Assembly Bill 939. It is to, it made all California cities, counties, and regional solid waste management agencies responsible for enacting plans to implement programs to divert 50% of the waste per year. What that means is that the waste numbers are calculated by waste, organics, and recycling. The percentage of waste for the city of Ceres right now is about 15%. So as you can see, we're a little bit shy of the mark. And this is attributed to a few things. A lot of it is we just need to get in front of the residents and do some education, I believe. Second slide is the Assembly Bill 341. It requires businesses, including public agencies, that generate 4 cubic yards or more of solid waste per week to arrange for recycling services. So the businesses do have options. They can self-haul, subscribe to a hauler, Bertolotti, or arrange for the pickup of the recyclable materials. Under all 4 scenarios, these have to be audited by every commercial account holder. So the easiest, obviously, for us is with Bertolotti. They track it as the tonnage goes through the scales. If somebody were to tell us that they generate more than 4 cubic yards and they self-haul it, we would have to in turn do an audit of that program. Assembly Bill 1826 phases in the mandatory recycling of commercial organics over time. So beginning in 2019 requires businesses that generate more than 4 cubic yards of solid waste per week to arrange for organic recycling services. So again, this is food waste, green waste, landscape and pruning waste, non-hazardous waste. This is part of the organics program for the commercial side. Assembly Bill 1383 requires all Californians to reduce organic waste disposal by 75% by 2025. So it requires the state to increase edible food recovery by 20% by 2025. And this Assembly Bill has significant policy and legal implications. There's fines with all of them, but this one there's administrative costs that are violations of minimum of $500 a day, and they go up to $10,000 per day. The regulations take effect on January 1st of 2022. Assembly Bill 827. This Assembly Bill added language to existing Assembly Bills 341 and 1826. And this for the mandatory commercial recycling and organics programs for covered businesses who must provide organics and recycling containers for customers collect their waste generated from products from products purchased or consumed on the premises. So this assembly bill targets businesses that sell products meant for immediate consumption, some of the fast food restaurants. Full service restaurants do not have to provide properly labeled containers for the patrons, but they do have to have labeled containers next to the trash enclosures for staff and for employees as they're cleaning off the dishes and whatnot, tables, to be able to discard appropriately. So what's next? There's a laundry list. You know, we need to complete an audit of all of our existing account holders. Currently, Bertolotti bills a lot of our commercial account holders, whether it be waste and or organics. We need to do an audit of those billed customers, integrate them into our existing software, and then bill them ourselves directly. And then we need to send out letters and notices, and we need to do an audit of their system on what they're actually generating. Are they generating more than 4 cubic yards of organics? If they're not, they're exempt. If they are, we need to do an audit and meet with them and go over some education, what the bills look like, and how to respond accordingly to CalRecycle. Public outreach, we need to develop a series of handouts, brochures for education. We need to provide the commercial audits for diversion as well as the organics recycling programs. Because of all the new assembly bills and the new language, we need to draft a new franchise agreement to comply with the adopted assembly bills and the 3 container system. So what this forces us to do is to you can go to a 2-can system. What the state says, if you wanted to go to a 2-can system, is you would have to haul that can off, the waste can, which would house the waste and recyclables together. You have to haul it off, separate it to a certified separating facility, and then dispose of it accordingly. Or you could go to a 3-can system, which is what we're looking at. We have to update the municipal code to comply with the newly adopted assembly bills, definitions, 3-container system, as well as enforcement. We have to update the city's website to comply with the mandatory organics recycling programs. And then with some direction from you is adopt some new rates. Would require Prop 218 noticing and a hearing. This is what the commercial rates look like today in comparison to what the proposed is. So it's about on the waste side, it's about a 7% increase. Recycling is 60%. Recycling is a big number because there's a lot of recyclables, obviously, on the commercial side. But unfortunately, is several years ago, there was a value to the recyclables for Bertolotti. And now it's costing Bertolotti approximately $60 a ton to dispose of. And the majority of the recyclables come from the commercial side. And then the organics is about a 7% increase as well. Current rates. These are current rates for the residential accounts. The residential account is $21.16. It's made up of 3 components, waste, garbage, recyclables, and organics. You can see Bertolotti's expenses. There is 24 cents per residential account we estimate that goes towards street sweeping. The dumpings from the street sweepers go out to Bertolotti to dump. We collect those numbers. City crew dump fees. This is trash and material that city crews pick up. It has to do with a lot of illegal dumping. It has to do with trash pickups. There's a series of tasks that our streets division takes care of that goes into this dumping number. And then the bulky item, we're estimating the bulky item is about 70 cents per account holder. And then leaf and limb programs for the organic side is about $252 a month. And that's for leaf and limb on the curb. Excuse me. So here's what we're proposing. We're proposing that in now or after the Prop 218 and after some direction from you, the proposed rate would go to $25.55. So that includes the Bertolotti expenses. That includes street sweeping dump fees, street sweep dump fees. The leaf and limb is at $2.92, as well as the bulky items at 80 cents. And after getting some direction from the beautification committee, we added $1 in there for the illegal dump program. So this is important due to the fact that Bertolotti has never been under contract to pick up illegal dumps. They are under contract to take illegal dumpings that the city would transfer to the station. But Bertolotti does the majority of the lift of the illegal dumps. So this here that puts $1 into that per account holder. And we feel that that's a pretty good number. And then in September of 2021, the rate would go to $31 even. This is when the organics would then be shifted from the leaf and limb program to the curbside toter. So there would be no more organics, no more leaf and limb on the streets. Everything would go into the toter. So at that point, it would be $8.37 for the organic program. Bertolotti needs to obviously hire more labor, get more equipment, trucks. We need 12,000 toters. The $2.92 that's in there for the leaf and limb program would go away. So the graph that I put down below is an indicator for the illegal dumping tonnage that between Bertolotti and the City of Ceres, our staff. So Bertolotti picks all the illegal dumps up that are on the right of way, within the city's right of way. City crews and city staff pick up all the illegal dumps that are in the alleys, that are up on property, all of the cleanups. So this is a number of those two combined. So you can see that it increases significantly since 2017. I included a slide that kind of shows the rates of the other agencies around us, just to try to get some comparisons and see where everybody else is. So you can see the first slide, the first bar graph is the current rate, $20.21, proposed rate's 25, and the proposed rate in September of 2021 goes up to about 31. And then you can see the agencies sitting next to it. There's a single asterisk and a 2 asterisks next to a couple of the agencies. Their website only has information for a single can or 2 can system. All agencies are going to have to go under some form of a Prop 218 here very soon to come up to a 3 can system. I've had a couple of conversations with Manteca because they have their own facilities. They may stick to a 2 can system. They're trying to get certified. There's a few things there, but in any event, the rates are going up. And all these agencies will be doing a Prop 218 here in the next 4 to 6 months. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Jeremy. I just had one question for you. So did I hear that correctly, that the leaf and limb program is going away and that would actually be put in one of the waste wheelers?
Leaf and limb program would go away and it would go into the toters.
Exactly how would the people who put something the size of a Volkswagen's worth of material get into a waste wheeler?
You'd be surprised. It's been done. Manteca's been pretty successful for a lot of years. Modesto's doing a lot of it, as well as curbside. It's just a challenge, but Turlock's doing it. So several agencies in several areas are doing it. They still have the option to do the bulky item. They still have the option to self-haul it to Bertolotti. There's still options available. This isn't more for the curbside leaf and limb will go away. If anybody wants to cut a tree up, they can self-haul it by themselves, and we'll come up with some plan to assist. This is more for, the leaves, the organic waste. This is what this is for. But curbside leaf and limb would go away. That's the only way to make this $8.37 number work. If we do both or try to do both, that number goes up to around $14.
So what happens if we fast forward and somebody cuts up a tree and puts it out on the street?
With enforcement,
an illegal dump?
With enforcement, we try to catch them. And if we don't, then it's considered an illegal dump and we haul it.
Okay. And we have it's $1 for the illegal dump, correct?
That's what I put into the plan, yes.
Right. And then you mentioned that the 3 containers, because I know I talked to Steve Holloway that runs Bertolotti Disposal for the most part, or is part owner. And he's like, there's really no options for this. But you mentioned something that he didn't mention to me a few weeks ago in regards to that if we only have 2 containers, then it's going to be the responsibility of the citizen to haul that stuff to some facility, and would they have to pay for that stuff to be taken out?
So no, if we go to a 2-container system, so CalRecycle gave you 2 options. You could do a 2-can or a 3-can system. The 2-can system allows you to put the waste and the recyclables together.
Okay.
Bertolotti would then have to take that can and dump it, take it to a separating facility where it all gets separated, and then haul it appropriately.
Would that increase our costs?
That would increase the cost tremendously because now you're hauling it twice.
And then the last question, I know about 5 years ago, give or take, Bertolotti came to us and we renegotiated their contract and we extended it to, I think, 8 years so they could get financing, so they could buy the, vehicles needed, the apparatus is needed to be able to take care of the garbage and all that stuff that we have in the city of Ceres. Are they possibly going to be coming back and maybe doing that same thing if this gets passed?
No, all of that is wrapped up in here.
Okay.
Hey, Jeremy, can you stop sharing your screen so we can see the full council, please?
Mayor, I have a question.
How do I do that?
Sure.
Mr.
Tom, how do I stop it?
It should say at the top, it should say stop screen. There you go.
Sorry. Thanks, Mike.
Mr. Damas, I have a couple of questions for you. Currently, our green can, we can have a smaller can and a larger can, and the smaller can, of course, costs less. Will that be the case when we go to 3 cans, or is there only going to be the one large green can?
We're looking at the one large green can, and the ultimate goal, if we go back a few slides, the ultimate goal is the 50% diversion. So the waste needs to get dropped down tremendously, and or the organics needs to be picked up. So the organics needs to be the larger can. At some point, we may be able to downsize the black garbage cans, but at this time, we're not recommending that.
Has anyone looked to see how many senior citizens are taking advantage of the small can that don't want to have to pay for the larger can when they're going to use half of it?
And we know that there's a lot of them out there. And Bertolotti has agreed to pick those up and continue to do that service.
Well, no, you're telling me that we're only going to have one size of the garbage can, the green, which we currently have as a green can.
For billing purposes.
But if we go to only 1 can versus the 2 can for the garbage right now, that means all of these senior citizens that are paying a lower rate for a smaller can will not be able to pay the lower rate. They're going to have to pay the higher rate for a can that they're not even going to probably fill halfway up. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we don't have an option where we can offer the smaller can at a lower rate like we do currently?
And we can. We just didn't program that into this model.
Okay, well,
Sit down and come up with some numbers.
Okay, because I think, again, we probably have a lot of seniors that are not using a big can and they use the smaller can, and it's cheaper for them. I don't know exactly how much cheaper, but I know it is a cheaper.
I've seen that number. Let me get you, I'll send you a note, get you the number on the number of smaller cans. I have that number somewhere.
Okay, and then my other question is, I have family in Manteca and they have 3 cans right now, but what the city has done, they've changed the recycling can. So basically you can't throw in your, like magazines and things like that, you can't throw in there. Basically what you can use that tall recycling can for now is just cardboard. And is that what will happen to us, that we're not going to truly be able to recycle like we do now with our recycling? Because our recycling, when it gets picked up at my house every 2 weeks, it's full because we use it for the intent that you're supposed to use it.
Yeah, and my understanding from Steve from Bertolotti is that's not going to change.
Okay.
That will remain the same. I'm not sure why. I'll ask that question.
Okay, thank you. Those are my only 2 questions.
Are there any other comments of the council before I open it up to the public?
Yeah, just Mr. Demas, I just had some clarification. So the root cause of this is essentially it's an unfunded mandate that's been handed down to us by the state of California, the legislator.
Correct.
Okay, and it's a one-size-fits-all approach across the state. Pretty much everybody has to comply.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's unfortunate. So, but I appreciate your hard work on this, and thank you for giving us a good presentation tonight.
Yep, thank you.
I do have one question. Jeremy, is there any way that you can supply us with a list of what could go in each one of the cans?
Sure. We have a flyer that we mail out. Yeah, I can get you one, Mike.
But since it's going to go to a three can system, a list for all 3 cans.
Yeah, I'll get it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, at this time, let's open it up to the public. It looks like Mr. Severo is the first one on the list.
Mr. Silvera, I'll unmute your mic.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Go ahead, Mr. Silvera, we can hear you.
Somebody asked me to unmute. I didn't have a question.
Oh, you raised your hand, sir. Sorry.
It was an accident. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Nice to see you all though.
Dave Heap.
Your mic is unmuted.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, well, you know, the 3 cans, I know a lot of places that do that, but I've talked to some of my neighbors. They don't separate. What goes in the green can goes in the blue can, and what goes in the blue can goes in the green can, and they don't separate it. And it's going to be interesting because it's not, and I notice a lot of neighbors, they dump their lawn clippings in the street, and you still pick that stuff up. So I have no idea how you're going to manage that. You're going to have those people that don't conform to recycling or anything.
Education.
Yeah, well, they won't learn. But anyways, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, Lee Brandt.
Okay, I'm just curious about the leaf and limb pickup thing. Like, I live on a corner lot, and I have 3 trees. And come the fall, there's a lot of leaves that come off. Is that can going to be able to handle all that? I mean, I foresee me filling up that can weekly. Are they going to pick it up weekly, or is it going to be every 2 weeks?
No, organics pickup will be weekly. We can talk about, because I know we do extra pickups or have offered extra pickups during leaf season. So I'll put that on my list.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, because I'm, Jeremy, you know where I live and you know my trees. So it's like, okay,
right.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Yakeley.
Yes, Jeremy. On the illegal dumping and the dollar fee. Now, with this dollar fee, there seems to be at least a couple of citizens that kind of wonder what the Bertolotti is going to do with this dollar fee. Are they going to, every time the garbage is due to pick up, are they going to clean the streets in the different areas that are pick up for that week, all the illegal dump?
So the program's going to remain the same. So if, for example, 2 houses down from you, somebody comes and dumps, cleans out their house and puts everything on the curb. What happens, we get the phone call. Code enforcement goes out and identifies it. Code enforcement then tries to find the person or persons who dumped it. If they can, then we notice them and we try to get them to pick up their own garbage. If they can't, they take some pictures and identify it and send it to us or put it on the list for Bertolotti to pick up. It just depends on the location. If it's in the public right of way, it goes on the list for Bertolotti to come through. if he gets on the list by, Captain Crane, you remember the date, if he gets on the list by, was it Thursday?
I'm not sure when it gets on the list.
If it gets on the list by a certain time, Bertolotti picks it up by Tuesday, picks it up on Tuesdays. And then if it's, if it's not in the public right away and then the city has to deal with it, it gets on a work order and staff gets to it within a couple of days. So that program's not going to change. What the dollar fee does is the dollar fee funds the program, because Bertolotti has never been compensated for the bulky or the illegal dumping program. This is compensation for them to do this work.
So in the past, the pickups that I've seen Bertolotti do, and sometimes, over off of Central where that low-income housing is, seems like a dump site for whoever wants to. So when they went out there in the present and the past, that was only on a call each time to pick up.
Correct. They don't do drive-bys.
Oh, okay. And that will never happen as far as we know.
That is our direction to Bertolotti. Unless I get direction to change that, that's our direction. We want code enforcement to go out and try to identify the person or persons who dumped.
Yeah, I understand that. So with other issues with the city, when they do identify, say somebody dumped it that moved like they've done in my neighborhood, illegal dumping, but then the home is owned by somebody, shouldn't they, or do they go after the homeowner?
That would be a Captain Crane issue question.
I'm not sure, Gene, if I heard your question correctly. Can you repeat that for me one more time?
Yeah, so an individual is renting a home, say from, anybody on the council or your neighbors or somebody, it's a rental home. And in this particular case, that was right next to me, the family moved out and threw their household goods into the gutter and some on the sidewalk. I knew who the company was that was renting it. I called them up and they said, I said, these people left some furniture out in the street. And she goes, oh, we know that. Ceres is going to pick it up. So she already knew before I even asked the question. And so at that point, you got to go after somebody, and it should be the homeowner that gets cited for this. If they can't, naturally these people have left town already. So, and at the same point, if you're renting something, and I don't own property, maybe some of you do, if you're renting something and you got a renter, whether it's an apartment or a house, and somebody decides to move, and evidently these people knew the property manager knew they were moving. If you have a property and somebody moves or tells you they're going to move, don't you go to the property and make sure you don't have holes in the drywall and stuff? And then you notice, like, oh yeah, you're leaving today? That stuff out in the street, no, that's not going to cut it. Get it out of here, before I give you your deposit back.
Well, most property managers would go out there and take a look at the property, doing some type of an inspection when you're dealing with getting their deposit back. If they were to leave that stuff, that would be something that they wouldn't give the deposit back on. They would keep that for cleanup purposes or to repair holes in walls or anything with the property.
But what I've already, I thought I wouldn't hear this, but when I talk to these people, and I've talked to this property management before on the same property for other issues, these people know, maybe not just the one property manager, but other people know that, hey, don't get me wrong now, but in Ceres, there seems to be some system here where people just don't care. But that property management, they knew that the garbage was there. She told, yeah, I know it's there. Don't worry about it. Ceres is going to pick it up. She knew before these people moved that trash, that furniture stuff was in the gutter. So what do we do?
That's
so you go after the homeowner?
Well, that's a good question.
We
could go and give it to the property management, but they're going to tack it onto the ex-renter. And once they leave, to track them down and force them to pay that now becomes an issue.
Yeah. So shouldn't it be the homeowner though? He's responsible, or she is, for their renters besides the property management.
that could be an avenue that the city could explore, going after the actual property owners,
Yeah.
the legal owners of the property.
And I think we
Mr.
see that.
Yakley, can I ask you to kind of wrap up your comments? You've gone over the 5 minutes.
Yeah, we see this in series a lot, and you guys have all seen it in different streets in town where people, they move out and they throw all that there. And it's pretty evident that these people know from time that it can be picked up at our expense. Thank you.
Looks like John. I'm assuming that's Mr. Warren.
Go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I had a couple of questions on the contract. That is what the discussion was about. On page 22, under B, it talks about city-sponsored community cleanups. And it says up to twice per year, the grantee, which would be Berlotti, would provide bins for the collection and disposal of stuff that the community might have on community cleanup days. In light of some suggestions that are going to be discussed under the beautification committee presentation, I would think maybe quarterly, 4 times a year here in this particular section. So that would allow service groups and other people that might come forward and want to help the city do cleanups a better opportunity to have a way of disposing of this stuff more than just twice a year. So that would be my thought there. And the other stuff has been beat up. I think what Mr. Yagley was kind of talking about was for the city to investigate an avenue to hold the management company of the rental or the property owner responsible for the actions of their renters when they dump property on the street, so the city can recover its costs. I mean, there's no problem, the city picks it up, but the city should be able to recover the cost. And I think that's where Gene was going with that comment. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't see any other hands raised. So this is just a discussion item. So Mr. Westbrook, I take it at this point, because this is statute that's coming down from the state, the next step will be that you will take direction for implementation, or do you need to bring something back to us?
I think at this point, Jeremy can correct me if I'm wrong, but at this point, we're looking for direction to begin the outreach for a 218 process to adjust the rates accordingly to comply with state statute. Jeremy, do you have an idea of timeline on when we should process any potential 218?
From Bertolotti's standpoint, is we'd like something in place by the first of the year. And I know that we only do the one meeting in December, so I'm not quite sure timing wise. Obviously, I've got a little bit of homework to do. I've attached a draft contract. If you'd like to take a look at it and give me some comments so that I can work with Bertolotti to work out any details that need to be there. I need, obviously the Prop 218 is a 45-day noticing. So, if I got back to you, let's say the first meeting in September, if I got back to you the first meeting in September, 45 days would be towards the end of October. So maybe by the first meeting in November, first meeting in December, we wrap it up somewhere in there.
All right, and it sounds like that's the timeline. I just want to go on record saying I don't like the state's implementation of this. I can't be supportive of it. And as many commenters have said tonight, in light of all the people that are hurting now, we're going to implement something else that, that the state's infinite wisdom thinks is in our best interest. So anyway, I'm not happy with it, but I guess there's a lot of things the state does that I'm not real happy with. All right, is that the direction you need, Tom?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, we'll move on to item number 13, the beautification committee recommendations.
Thank you, Mayor Vieira, Council. So as you all know, at the beginning of 2020, there was a beautification committee that was put together. There was a number of individuals, 10 to be exact, that were selected, 2 from each council district and 2 from the mayor at large. There has been 3 meetings of the beautification committee meeting, one in February, another in March, and then most recently, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a meeting in July on the 28th. The chair for that beautification committee was former mayor and state senator Anthony Cannella. Richard McKay was the vice chair of that meeting. At the meeting on the 28th, the committee came up with some good recommendations that I'm going to propose to you this evening, and then kind of talk about next steps moving forward. One of the things the committee mentioned, because through our meetings, we did have a pretty elaborate discussion with our code enforcement officers and kind of what they do and what role they provide in the city. One of the suggestions from the committee members were to look at the timeline regarding the property use maintenance notification. Generally, that's 10 days. So if there's somebody that has overgrown grass or weeds on their property, they get a notice and they get 10 days to rectify that. Some of the committee members were wondering if that could be truncated and shortened a little bit. There are circumstances where there's a public health and safety issue that we would reduce that to a 3-day minimum. But in large part, most of the cities within the state of California for a public property issue would stay with the 10 days. And so we bounced that through the city attorney, who recommended kind of keeping it at the 10-day limit. Their second recommendation, which you just heard through Jeremy's presentation regarding garbage, they did have a request to put something in the fee structure to deal with illegal dumps within the community, where there was a lot of the committee members that were supportive of that. There were a couple that weren't, but largely they wanted the city and Bertolotti to have a mechanism to deal with the illegal dumps. And so hence, you just heard Jeremy talk about the $1 rate increase that would be proposed. Their third item revolved around kind of creation of some type of plan to deal with blight issues and other code violations within the city. Kind of noting that there needs to be a good public outreach campaign. The committee members felt that there were some folks within the community that maybe don't know what the city has to offer in terms of programs that they can take a part of. And so they thought if there was kind of a robust public outreach and kind of a creation of a plan, that we would be able to educate some of the residents to better utilize some of the programs that we already have. One of the other items that the committee recommended was kind of bolstering of the existing Adopt a Parks program. So as you know, Matt Lohr has worked with Jeremy, and we do have some citizens that have adopted parks within the community. They thought that perhaps there would be neighborhood groups or other service clubs that would like to participate in adopting parks. I believe the program that we have now will provide the garbage getters, the bags, and then generally if those folks coordinate with our public works park staff, we'll throw away any trash that's generated. Another item that they brought up, which I thought was really interesting, and Chief Collins and I had chatted about this, and I think there's a lot of value here, is that when we get back into hopefully a COVID-free world, utilizing volunteers and police services, so our VIPs, utilizing them to maybe help and assist in some of the lower level code enforcement activities. If it's an initial inspection with a camera and a photo, or if it's a follow-up. And so we thought that there would be some potential benefit to relieve some of the work that our code enforcement officers do on a weekly basis by utilizing some of the VIPs. So I thought that that was a great idea. And then the last recommendation that they had, and this kind of falls into more of perhaps what Love Series used to do years ago. And one of the members brought a reference of Modesto's Neighborhoods United. And that would be where they would kind of pick specific areas of town or certain projects, and they would go and kind of clean them up on their own with some assistance from the city. But it was really driven by the neighborhood group, and whether it would be churches, sports clubs, whatever, just trying to increase the volunteerism to get some people out in the community to help clean it up. And so really those were the 6 items that were kind of brought forward by the beautification committee. I know that there are a number of folks, Mr. Yakeley and Mr. Warren were a part of that. I think there may be some others that are included on the line today. But I do want to thank Anthony Cannella, because he kind of really spearheaded the effort to get to these recommendations and did a great job. At this point, you know, these are just recommendations. The council can certainly weigh in on some of the concepts presented, but I think that the future would hold is kind of trying to reestablish that committee and maybe talk about implementation of some of the programs that were recommendations, rather, kind of implementation of those. So at this point in time, I would be available for any comments that the council may have.
All right, is there anyone on the council that has any comments or questions for Tom?
Yes, Mr. Westbrook. I was just wondering, so are we going to be implementing these individually? I mean, it's not a package, that we would pick the best ones that we saw as a priority for our city moving forward. And our
It seems like it's kind of an open dialogue, Councilman Condit. You know, this has not been done before. So if the council thinks that there's one or two of these items that they think should have some priority, I think that we could start there.
Well, I definitely want to thank our committee members. I do want to thank our chair, Senator Cannella, as well as our vice chair, Mr. McKay, and thank all those that participate on the committee. And I'm glad we're addressing these issues of beautification. So thank you.
All right, is there anyone else? All right, at this time, I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone on the in the audience who would like to comment on this item? Mr. Yakeley?
Unmute your mic.
I want to thank Tom Westbrook for being there, and the chief was there last time, and you know, I mean, this little committee, you know, maybe, you know, city council members don't think it's going to go anywhere, but there's some input that they never had before, and maybe some direction to where we can get some movement on some of these items. But I appreciate all those that participated, you know, whether they're employees of the city or not, and good for them. Thank you.
Yeah, Jeremy participated in those meetings too, council.
John, Mr. Warren?
Mr. Warren, I'll unmute your mic.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, council, and I want to thank the members of the staff that have participated in the beautification committee meetings. Jeremy, Captain Crane, Mr. Collins, Chief Wise, and those of you from staff that provided input, Tom Westbrook, on these meetings and gave us direction in what needs to be done and the proper avenue. As I mentioned before, when we were talking about the Berlotti contract, part of the recommendations was, you know, of course, maybe volunteerism in the city and our youth in the high schools and stuff out helping us pick stuff up. So that's why I made the comment about the number of times of the year for the grantee to provide bins and stuff. So that was related to that particular issue, so that there might be more of the disposal equipment that's available if we have these things 3 or 4 times a year rather than just twice a year.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warren. I think that that's one of the things that we consider in that contract with Bertolotti. I think Jeremy's made a note that perhaps if there's a number of times, whether it's 4, but I'm sure that we can always work with Bertolotti if there's a desire and a need to have additional days, that we can accommodate that as well.
Correct.
Yes, yeah, I pretty much figured that, but you know, a contract is what it is, and so I just thought I would bring that issue up. On item number 2 in the recommendations from the beautification committee about the garbage fees to deal with the illegal dumping, I was pleased to see that Jeremy did, in fact, because he had great input with what was going on with the upcoming change in our garbage pickup system and how that's handled. with the leaf and limb and bulky items and such. I know our current garbage bill is like 21 bucks a month. And that includes everything with street sweeping and bulky items and such. And it's probably going to increase quite a bit, maybe by as much as 50% by this time next year, up to $31. But also included in that was the illegal dumping portion that I had some particular concerns with. And this is not coming from the beautification committee. This is coming from me personally. But I do feel that our code enforcement folks need a helping hand in doing their job. Currently, right now, we only have 2 people that are involved in that particular operation. With the recent departing of the sergeant, there's only 2 working in that, and we should probably have at least 4. So we probably need a supervisor and maybe another employee, and that needs to be funded. So I think possibly with the garbage rates and illegal dumping and code enforcement being a big enforcement tool in that endeavor, that somewheres in that illegal dumping area, that maybe some additional funds could be allocated for the purpose of code enforcement and for those people to be funded and to be able to operate more efficiently in doing their job. So that is a consideration that I think the council should think about, especially coming into the new budget negotiations, maybe possibly next month, or when this contract gets finalized for Barlotti as an avenue. If we're going to have to make an increase, let's make it the best that we can and get the best bang for our dollar to help our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, I don't see anyone else that would like to comment. So, Tom, do you have the direction on this, or are you gonna? I know Councilmember Condit asked that question as far as the individual items. So, are you going to bring them a couple at a time, or implement all of them, or what is your thought?
Probably get together the committee again and see maybe which items they want to prioritize from their end and move forward. Some of these I think will be somewhat easier to implement than others. So I kind of want to get their buy-in and kind of do this as a kind of a recommendation from the committee. We just wanted to throw this in front of the council to see if there was anything from a council perspective that they would like us to prioritize. But we can certainly reconvene with the committee and get a plan moving forward on the recommendations to this point.
Okay. All right, with that, we will move on to item number 14, fire regionalization.
Okay, bear with me.
Chief Wise is going to share his screen. He has a PowerPoint ready for the council and the participants. All right, we can see your screen, Chief Wise.
Okay.
Your PowerPoint went away. There it is. We can see it.
Okay, it's not the view I wanted here. Can you see that view okay like that?
Yep, you're okay.
All right. Good evening, Council, Mayor. This evening, I'd like to discuss and have an overview of fire service regionalization. I'd like to talk a little bit about our history, some drivers for regionalization, some options, and some recommendations. And I'd like to provide you with some examples of fire regionalization around the state. First of all, I'll talk about the Ceres Fire Department just a little bit and briefly. We were established in 1911, and obviously for our first 80 years, we're mostly a volunteer fire department. And in the 80s and 90s, we transitioned to a career department, and we used interns until recently. In the 1970s, we started providing a contract for service for the Ceres Fire Protection District, which we still do today. Also, in 1993, the Ceres Fire Department started providing services to the Industrial Fire Protection District along with the City of Modesto. Essentially, they split the Industrial Fire Protection District in half. City of Ceres took the responsibility for half and the station on Pecos, and City of Modesto took the other half at their station on Imperial. In 2007, the City of Ceres and City of Modesto formed a JPA for the Industrial Fire Protection District. There's currently a board with myself, Tom Westbrook, Chief Ernst, and City Manager Lopez from City of Modesto that serve on the board for the JPA. In 2014, we initiated the MOU MCST resource sharing agreement, which we still have today. So there's several types of regional models for the fire service, and there's not one model that's duplicated. They're all a little different, and they've all come to fruition in different ways.
Your screen is not forwarding. We're still on the main slide.
Ooh.
You'll need to advance the slides. Should be able to do that with the arrow keys.
Okay, let's try it different.
Keyboard.
How's that?
It has not changed.
Great.
Is it changing on your screen, Chief?
Yes, it is.
All right, why don't you stop sharing and I'll man the slides.
Okay.
So you have to go up to the top of the screen and stop share.
Okay. You should be able to now.
Did my screen change?
Yes, one more, advance one more, please. So like I said, there's several different types of regional models out there. So some of the different types of regional models are drop boundary shared resources. That's currently what we're doing with Modesto, Ceres, City of Turlock, and Stanislaus Consolidated Fire Protection District. There's administrative models, special districts, both independent and dependent, joint power agreements that are standalone and non-standalone, and there's contracts for services. Advance screen, please. The benefits of regionalization, and these are just a few, but these are kind of the bigger ones, is to elimination of duplicative services, cost savings, improved service levels, sharing of expensive special services such as hazmat teams, technical rescue, or water rescue, improve administrative oversight, more depth in administration, which results in better risk management. Please advance, there you go. Some of the drivers for regionalization, and they're all a little different, but when there's several service level reductions, and that's usually budget driven, it makes people think outside of the box. And it makes people think about partnerships and how they can work better together. And usually the budgetary restraints is a big driver in really forcing people to look outside of the box and seeing how they can still provide a high level of service to the citizens. And then on the same token, we have, if organizations are looking for enhancements in their service levels, they look at partnerships. There's several successful models, which I'll go over a few here in a minute. One of the drivers is a change in political values and perspectives, obviously to improve risk management, improve efficiencies, improve economic efficiencies, operational efficiencies, and really be part of a bigger system. Advance slide, please. All right. So some models around the state, and these are just a few. There's actually quite a bit more, but these are some of the models. And like I said, no two are the same. And we got Alameda County Fire Department, Contra Costa Fire Department, Sac Metro, Orange County Fire, and lastly, I'll talk about the Modesto Fire Department. Advance slide, please. Advance slide.
To the Alameda.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Oh, advance one more, please. Thank you. So the Alameda County Fire Department, this model started when 3 special districts came together to form a department, and then they subsequently provided 7 contracts for service. So they have 5 cities and 2 national laboratories. They have 30 stations, 509 personnel with a $140 million budget. This was initially formed in 1993, and it's been a very successful model. And really their model is a dependent special district with contracts for service. Advanced slide, please. And next is Contra Costa Fire Department. Their model is a little different than Alameda County in the fact that everyone in their district is part of their district. So they have what's called a dependent special district with municipal inclusion. That means the cities, that territory within the cities became part of a special district that provides those services. So this process started in 1964, and the main partners in it was a 20-year process through, or 1964 to 1994. They have over 26 stations, 400 personnel, $147 million budget. So they have 19 cities, and they do have some unincorporated communities within their department. Advanced slide, please. Next is the Sacramento Metro Fire District, referred to as Sac Metro. They were 16 special districts that came together to form a partnership, along with the city of Rancho Cordova and city of Citrus Heights. They have a $195 million budget, 42 stations, almost 700 personnel. They were founded in 2000. Advanced slide. This is one of the most robust partnerships out there. It's a Orange County Fire Authority, and it's got every type of agreement, type of regionalization model all in one. It's a very large department with 77 stations, $469 million budget. It was founded in 1995, and it has 23 cities and a large unincorporated area. Advanced slide, please. Modesto Fire Department. One thing I want to note before I move on to the Modesto Fire Department, with all these partnerships, they all started with 2 cities or a fire protection district, and it all started with an idea of how we can provide services better. And as you can see, those models, they grew from 1 or 2 agreements, 3 agreements coming together, and they grew larger and larger, and the efficiencies got better and better. And that's why they're so successful today. So it all started with an idea of somebody getting together. How can we make this work to provide a better service to our citizens? Next, I'd like to discuss the Modesto Fire Department. Currently, the Modesto City is a model that has contracts for service, and they also have a JPA with us. But more specifically, what I'd like to talk about tonight is their contract for service with the City of Oakdale and the Oakdale Fire Protection District. But I'd provide you with a little bit of background on the Modesto Fire Department. They currently have 15 stations, 2 are unstaffed. One of those is Knights Ferry or Valley Home on a rotating basis, and the other one is the airport station where we keep our fire investigators. 165 sworn personnel, $45 million budget. They've been around for 140 years. As I mentioned, they have a JPA with City of Ceres, and they provide 2 contracts with the City of Oakdale and the Oakdale Fire Protection District. It was a 3-year contract for service that was implemented in July of 2019. Next slide, please. They're a full service all risk department. They have advanced life support, so they have paramedics. They have a special operations division with water rescue, technical rescue team, hazardous materials team. Hazardous materials team is a level 2 team right now, and they're getting ready to improve that to a level 1 team with the new regional fire agreement for the county. They have a fully staffed administrative support. They have 14 allocated civilian positions, 1 fire chief, currently have 3 division chiefs and 6 battalion chiefs. Advanced slide, please. The 4 divisions, they have the operations division. They have 15 staffed companies, 13 engine companies, with 4 of those with advanced life support, which are paramedics, 2 truck companies. They have a support division, a training division, and a fire prevention division with a fire marshal, a deputy fire marshal, and they currently have 5 fire inspectors and a plan check person. Advanced slide, please. So I'd like to talk about a little bit with their contract for service and some of the advantages of a contract for service. One of the advantages is the governing body determines the level of service in their prospective community. Each jurisdiction can terminate the contract with due notice. In the current Oakdale contract, it's a 12-month notice by either party. The model is expandable. That means you can add more partners to the model very easily by adding an additional contract. And with that, you have direct and shared cost allocation models. So as the organization grows, you share some of those administrative costs. Also with this, the capital outlay is the responsibility of the parent agency. So for example, your fire stations, your fire engines, they remain the property of the parent agency. And in the Oakdale contract, how they have it is any repair over $5,000, that goes back to the parent agency, and that's the responsibility of the parent agency. But up into that, the regular maintenance and the small repairs is all covered under the contract. They also have the oversight committees with representatives from each contract agency. So City of Oakdale has a city council member and the city manager that sits on the oversight committee. And the Oakdale Fire Protection District has 2 board members that sit on that committee, and they provide oversight to the fire chief. Advance slide, please. The Ceres Fire Department, some of our current challenges is we currently have limited administration. We have limited fire prevention and community risk reduction. We have limited depth of organization. We have increased calls for service with decreased staffing. So an example would be 10 years ago, we ran approximately 4,200 calls a year for service. We had 4 fire stations. Since that time, we've reduced our engine companies by 1, so we currently have 3 today, and we've eliminated our administration by 50%. And in 2018, we ran 6,100 calls for service. So our calls have been increased, our workload has increased, but we've decreased in our staffing, both at the operational level and at the administrative level. And one of our challenges is we are very dependent upon mutual aid agreements for significant incidents. Next slide, please. A recommendation that I would like to give is to explore what a contract for fire service would look like with the Modesto Fire Department and direct staff to bring back a proposal for a contract for services. And that way we could at least take a look at it and see if it would work for the city of Ceres and get council's approval, whether we move on with that idea or maybe move on with another idea. Next slide, please. Okay, now questions or discussion?
I know I'm the one that actually can you hear me. I think I put off mute. You know, I had the opportunity to meet with Chief Ernst, yourself, and Councilmember Klein, and I think Councilmember Condit was also had met at another time. I don't know if anybody else had, but you know, it's just a thing that I thought during the course of time that we really need to look at. I know we talked about it early on when we did a workshop many months ago, and you know, I just think that it wouldn't hurt to look at a contract. You know, it doesn't mean that we're going to vote on it. It doesn't mean that it's going to be supported by the council. And the other part too is I know I've had this talk with you, Chief, in regards to, you know, we may have a whole new council come November. And so, you know, I don't know, you know, should we wait before then, or do we wait till after, or before making a decision, you know, and again, what decisions are to be made? I know I already stated in regards to, I know I shared that with you. Sorry, I dropped the towel. That, Chief, that, you know, I don't particularly care. I have worries. I have thoughts in regards to the council in Modesto being in charge of what we're doing. And again, I know maybe some other council members have that same thought process, but you know, it would be really nice if we could be in person with each other and talking about this huge thing, which could be really beneficial for the citizens. And, or, you know, at the end of the day, maybe it's not, but anyways.
Mayor, may I ask some questions?
Sorry, I have to unmute. Vice Mayor Rhino?
Yes, thank you. Chief Wise, you made the comment that we are very dependent on mutual aid for our calls, but it seems to me that we are running to Modesto on a lot of calls, so I don't know that Modesto is providing more mutual aid to us or that we're providing more to them. That would be my first comment. There's something in the proposed, I suppose might be a proposed contract, that the jurisdiction, meaning us, could terminate a contract with 12 months notice, but I don't think that would be something that could easily be undone, because currently our fire employees are covered under Stansera, the retirement. By going to Modesto, they're going to be covered under PERS. And so if we said, we've tried it, we want to go back, how hard is it to get those employees back under Stansera? They will have been out of it for a while. So then there's a whole thing with their contribution rate and everything. That is another concern of mine. In the FAQs that we were provided on page 3, it says there would be an advisory committee to provide guidance and direction to Modesto. I have concerns, just like Councilmember DeRosset, that the city of Modesto is going to be, the city council of Modesto is going to be making decisions for the citizens of Ceres. So if we have an issue, or maybe Modesto's budget goes south and they decide, you know what, let's cut one of the stations in Ceres. We have no say on that. And all of a sudden, all of our constituents rightly are coming to us saying, hey, wait a second. Why are we cutting a station in Ceres? Why isn't Modesto cutting one? I just think that's going to be a slippery slope, and I don't want to go that direction. I don't think that this city council should give up their control, if you will use that word, over what benefits our citizens. Also, it said, will the fire engines, trucks look different? Fire apparatus will continue to be owned by the jurisdiction and used primarily for service within the community. Primarily. So here we've spent how much money on all this new apparatus that will say, we'll still say Ceres, but in partnership with, or Modesto in partnership with Ceres or whatever. But now all of a sudden, they're going to start using all of our new apparatus that we're still paying for, and we're going to get their old apparatus. By it saying primarily, there's no guarantee that all of that new apparatus we're paying for is going to stay in Ceres. So I absolutely do not want to see regionalization. I believe Ceres is large enough that we should continue to have our own fire department.
Well, I can answer a few of those concerns that you brought up, and they're all great questions. And first of all, with the retirement system, we have what's called reciprocity, where we can go from one system to another. And that's what I did. I came from a CalPERS system into the Stansera system. So you can do reciprocity, and you're considered a classic member. If you switch from one to the other within 6 months, then you retain your classic retirement benefit. With the contract for service, the city of Ceres would set the level of service. The city of Modesto would have to provide those services by contract. So for example, if there was a reduction in the city of Modesto budget, they would have to reduce the staffing at a Modesto city station. They could not do it at a city of Ceres station because they're under contract to provide those services. They couldn't reduce the contract without negotiating with the city of Ceres. And when the apparatus, and that's why they probably use the word primarily, they will be in Ceres, the same as they are in Oakdale. The Oakdale apparatus haven't left Oakdale. It's been over a year now, and all their apparatus is still in place.
Okay, well, it says primarily, so it's not engraved that it will stay in series. And it will say it's Modesto Fire, or will it say?
It'll say series fire on the engines, and then it'll say below series fire, it'll say in writing, it'll say services provided by the Modesto Fire Department.
Okay,
And
so,
the stations will still say City of Series on the stations. And the only thing that would change would be the badges and the patches.
okay. With the retirement, even though the employees would get picked up by Modesto, we still will have to, we still are going to be responsible to keep a certain portion for their retirement under Stansera, correct?
You are correct. That's called the unfunded accrued liability. And no matter what, the City of Ceres will always be responsible for that unfunded accrued liability from the past. However, moving forward, the City of Ceres will no longer be accruing unfunded accrued liability in the way of retirement. That will stop. The City of Ceres will no longer, as you move forward over the next say you did a 5-year contract, City of Ceres would no longer be accruing that unfunded liability.
Councilmember Klein, I think you had your hand up.
Yes. Chief Wise, I asked you for an organizational chart, and which I have, and I have it with me. They do offer a lot more stuff that we do not have when it comes to plan check and fire marshal services, fire prevention, secretaries, etc. But on this operational chart, it has a board of directors listed as number 1. Who are the board of directors?
The city council is in charge of the Modesto Fire Department. I don't have that organizational chart in front of me.
Because it says citizens, board of directors, and then underneath the board of directors, it has committees and city council underneath that, or council.
Is that the one first? That's the one for Stanislaus Consolidated, maybe, because you asked me for all 3 of them.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I apologize. So when we're talking about an oversight committee, where would we fit in that oversight committee as far as the operational chart?
I would assume that would be under the fire chief.
And how much weight do you think that the committee oversight would have with the chief if there was something that we thought was detrimental, like Vice Mayor Rhino said, would be like him wanting to transfer a piece of our equipment to another station? The other thing is because of the operational chart, I think right now, because, in talking with you about strike teams, where we are manpower, that it would help take away some of the manpower problems we have and be divided up amongst Modesto City and their operation. But how much weight would you think that oversight committee would have in trying to keep things being implemented that we thought were detrimental to our identity?
Well, I can tell you, that committee would hold a lot of weight. And I've been a part of a contract for service before with the Oakdales when I was at Stanislaus Consolidated, and they were our customer, and we were trying to provide customer service to them. So if they had an issue, we dealt with it. And I believe, and you can talk with Oakdale City Council or the mayor or the city manager from Oakdale, they've gotten nothing but the highest level of service from the city of Modesto and a very, very professional fire department.
Well, and I would tell you, it's in the back of my mind that what happened to Stanislaus Consolidated and that whole aspect and the direction that went, and, with their board and stuff. But I would be willing and being open with, like Councilmember DeRossa, to at least entertain and look at a contract and see what the contract is and be able to ask further questions on, what we're looking at.
Hey, Chief Wise, do you think it's entirely possible, if there was concerns from council members like the apparatus primarily being in series. Do you think that that's something that could be addressed in a contract with Modesto?
Absolutely. And it goes both ways. Let's say, for example, our truck company went out of service. Something happened to our Quint. Well, Modesto could move one of its reserve trucks into series, and the crew out there could operate in a reserve truck for the day. So it can actually go both ways. But yeah, I mean, the council can put whatever they want in the contract as long as the city of Modesto agrees to it. And I think that's why they use that wording primarily, just in case there are extraordinary circumstances where they would pull that apparatus out.
Well, I'd like to comment on this item. I've never been supportive of this. I don't think I've ever hidden that fact. I don't like losing the control. As a citizen, I don't like the fact that I'm paying a special tax for public safety up and above what another jurisdiction is not doing. The same comments that Vice Mayor Rhino mentioned about potential lack of control, use of funds, and if it doesn't work, and nothing against the chief, it's a great presentation. Thank you. I appreciate you providing that. But, if I had $1 for every time a JPA or something got executed and fell apart, I probably could retire already. So having said that, once the cat's out of the bag, then the real problems start, and that's my concern. So I think I want to channel this back to the item. Do we want them to look forward? I don't want to and come back with some kind of contract. I don't want to hash the details of it because, we could beat that to death. Nobody knows what it's going to look like until somebody puts it on paper. I'm not supportive of it, especially in light of the pandemic issue that we're dealing with right now with, people hurting, and we're trying to consolidate everything. I mean, this is a huge deal, and I don't want to underestimate all the ramifications associated with doing it. And I think this really should be something that we address after we find out what our financial situation is. I personally am very proud and think that our public safety is doing a tremendous job. So I'm never one of these ones that likes to, well, let's fix it if it isn't broken type of a thing, So I haven't seen any fundamental structure issues that tell me I need to run right out and sign a JPA because it's not working. So that's my feeling. I haven't wavered from that from the very beginning, but in 5-6 months when I'm gone and somebody else wants to step in and do something different, that's your prerogative. But for me, I can't support it. And I would say at this point, I have no desire to see a contract or even waste anybody's time talking about it, but I'm only one vote. So if the rest of the council wants to do that, then obviously that's their prerogative. So
I would agree with you, Mayor, that I don't see the point in wasting staff's time in putting a contract out there. And I agree with you also that if it's not broke, why fix it? I mean, I think our fire department does a great job, as well as the police department. So why do we need to allow another city to take over our city?
So what I want to do is ask if any more of the council members have any comments, and then I do want to open it up for some public comments. So, and then after we close or get the public comment, then we can take more council member comments at that point as well. So does anyone on the council have any comments before I open it up to the public? Okay, well, why don't we do this? It looks like Mr. Brandt has his hand raised.
Yeah, I agree with Vice Mayor Rhino and Mayor Vieira. I would hate to lose any, as a citizen, I would hate to lose any services that we have. I agree that I think our public safety has been doing a tremendous job. There's something like, there's something to the meaning of home. I mean, a series is home. you know, I don't want to see us lose that. You know, I mean, I know some firefighters, I know some police officers, and they take pride in being Ceres, not Modesto/Ceres or Ceres/Modesto. So I understand where Chief Wise is coming from, you know, as far as the contract goes, you know, and it's saving X amount of dollars, you know, and we're getting X amount of better service, you know, and stuff like that. But gosh darn it, you know, we're Ceres, you know. I can say what, I can use the cliche, Ceres strong, you know, whatever, you know. So, all right, well, that's all I have to say. So thank you.
Okay. Mr. Warren?
Your mic is unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I had a question and I may have missed in part of the presentation. Was there a realization or was there an estimated savings to the city if we became part of this organization? What would the savings be to the city? Is there a dollar figure?
Yeah, that's part of what we'd like to find out from the city of Modesto if we did ask for a proposal. Preliminary numbers when we looked at it with them was, yes, there was going to be a savings to the city of Ceres. And in one of the models that we looked at, we were actually increasing our staffing by placing an additional firefighter on the Quint/truck company.
Okay, but that doesn't answer the question. How much of a savings? Give me a dollar figure or give the public a dollar figure. Estimated.
Yeah, the first year there was going to be a $500,000 savings.
Going forward with a contract long-term. Estimate.
I don't have those numbers for you. We have to request the proposal to get those final numbers from the city of Modesto.
I would think if the council was going to entertain a proposal, that there would be some figures there that they could look at and say, hey, over a 5-year period, if we're going to save $1 million or $2 million, that might be something worth investigating. But with smaller numbers and not having any dollars and figures, just it might not be a good thing to go there right now. Thank you.
Well, the first year would be $500,000. That's $500,000 in the first year.
And after that?
I don't have those numbers. Like I said, they have to receive a request for proposal to give us the final numbers.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other hands raised, so I will bring it back to the council for final comments and some direction.
Well, my comments, and I've made this in the past to the chief, is the importance of autonomy and self-governance. And as some of my colleagues have expressed, that has always been my hesitation in moving forward in something like this. I would agree with the mayor. He's absolutely correct that we really can't make a huge decision like this when we don't know our city's finances. And I do think we should hold off and tread cautiously in moving forward with such a big monumental decision. But self-governance and autonomy is always going to be a priority of mine, and making sure that we retain those rights for our city and our residents.
Thank you. All right, so I mean, unless the other council members wanted to speak, I think, Tom, at this point, we'll just like to hold off until we get through the whole issue with COVID and find out where the finances sit before we address it. So I think that I've heard that from the majority of the council members at this time. So perhaps, you know, in the spring of next year, if things look great and we're all no longer wearing masks, then maybe it's time to address it at that point.
Okay, we'll not proceed any further at this point.
Okay. All right, thank you. At this time, I'll move to council member referrals. Is there anyone on the council that would like to have an item placed on a future agenda? Okay, hearing none, I'll move to reports. I have nothing to report. Councilmember Condit?
Yes, well, I noticed the increase in public participation tonight, especially, and actually over the past few meetings. I just want to thank the public for their involvement and speaking out and giving us your insight and your perspective. And I hope that continues. So I really appreciate it.
Councilmember Klein?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to bring up. You know, last week I attended a couple of the meetings that I'm on the committees for. And just to give a brief overview, Measure L, I mean, total revenue that's came into the city of Ceres, you know, over the previous year was $1.9 million. What expenditures came out of that was a little over $950,000 in streets and roads, $34,000 to local bike pass and pedestrian. Traffic management got $262,000, with transit going $40,000. So that's a little update from Measure L. The other thing was the homeless, Stanislaus Homeless Alliance Board. They did their point in time check, and the numbers in the county was 2,107. With that, there was about a 9% increase over the previous year. According to the figures that they gave us, the city of Ceres increase was about 17%. Basically, it was from 24 people from the point and count in 2019 to 29 people in 2020. The partnership with the Housing Authority, the Stanislaus and Modesto, they are completing the Kansas House. In Building A, there's 23 units. They're fully occupied. Building 2, there's 32 units, with 17 of them occupied and 10 additionally being occupied this week. Building C, there's 23 tenants scheduled to be in there within the next 2 weeks, and 24 units are being ready in Building D. They're just waiting for the standard inspections. Of those point and count findings, they found that 110 of the homeless were reported were veterans, and 207 of those households included children. And 80% of the individuals became homeless in Stanislaus County. So 20% of them, what the findings were outside of the county. And those 2 meetings I attended was very informative. And I just thought I'd like to share it with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Councilmember Drossett? You're on mute. There you go. Nothing? Okay. Vice Mayor Rhino?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right. We'll start with staff. Letitia?
I have nothing, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Hallahan?
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Mr. Westbrook?
Thank you, Mayor. As you may have heard through the news, the COVID numbers appear to continue to be dropping in Stanislaus County. There's hopefully movement that we will fall off the state's watch list, which will allow us some liberties in terms of some of the businesses that could open up again. On that same vein, we're watching that so that hopeful that we can get back to city council meetings in the city council chambers, in addition to opening City Hall. So we're monitoring that. Just wanted to ask the council, we heard about the discussion this evening regarding sidewalk vending. Would it be your desire to, well, 2 things. One, at the next meeting, I'm hoping to bring the budget back at your meeting of September 14th, knowing that that may be a pretty good discussion. I'm thinking that perhaps the sidewalk vending discussion, perhaps moving that to the meeting of September 28th if the council does not object.
I think right now at this point, let's focus on the budget. That's a major priority. And then we can move to the vending again. At this point, I think some people are coming in from permits and we're not taking any product. So let's focus on the budget right now.
Got it. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that today we had some temporary help in our HR division start. Mr. Robert Bonner started today to help out in our HR division. He's just going to be here on a temporary basis until we can get some additional employees in our HR division. So that's it.
Okay. Mr. Padilla?
I have nothing tonight, Mayor. Thanks.
Okay, Chief Weiss?
All right, Mayor. As most of you know, we recently did promotions at 3 ranks. So we haven't been able to have a promotional ceremony up to this point due to COVID. So we're going to do something unique. On September 12th, we're going to do a driving little parade promotion type ceremony. We're going to drive down to Turlock, where 2 of our firefighters live, and we're going to do their promotions out on their front driveway with their family there. And then we're going to come back to Houston, and that's where we'll do another one in Houston. So that'll be on September 12th, and I'll get those times out to you guys within the next couple of days. Also, we're going to go out to Bertolotti, and we're going to give Patrick LeBeau his medal that we've gotten him and his certificate, and we're going to do that out there in their meeting area, and that'll be on September 11th. And we'll get that time for you guys also. And we also are going to do with the American Legion. We're going to do our Firefighter of the Year with Captain Miller, and we're working on that time. So I'll get all those times and dates to you guys in the next couple of days, and hopefully some of you can attend those ceremonies. We had to think out of the box how to get those done, and so it'll be kind of a unique experience to do that. And we plan on videoing all of that, and then we'll get it out on our social media also. Also, our new apparatus, we're really hoping to have our 2 first out engines, our Type 1s, in service by this Friday. So if everything comes to alignment, we finish up some training, get a few more things completed with the mounting of the equipment, and a few little bugs worked out. We're hoping by this Friday to have those 2 first out pieces of apparatus in service. And that's all I have.
Chief Collins?
Yes, Councilor. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to share that I'm continued to be impressed with the work the men and women are doing here, both professional and sworn, during this difficult time. They continue to do their job very well, and more importantly, they're staying safe. We haven't had any positive tests inside the building, so I'm continued with the work that they're doing.
Thank you. Jeremy?
Nothing, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Lohr? I don't know if I see him.
Yes, we are going to start fall programming registration in the 1st of September for the October 1st start date, hoping everything goes well with the current pandemic. And next is, I've heard some whispers out there, we're going to do our holiday events. And right now we are planning to do our trunk or treat. It will be a different event and a different location this year to take in the concerns with the pandemic, and I'll be sharing that information at the next meeting when everything is confirmed. We're working closely with the school district, with the police and fire department to put that program together, and we want to make sure that there is a Halloween event for the community, and also we are looking at exploring at this time staff of how to work with Christmas Tree Lane and, with everything that's going on. So I will definitely report back. We are excited about doing events and having some programs. It's been a tough time, but we look forward to the opportunity to reopen the community center to the public, hopefully the 1st of October. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Crane?
I have nothing, Mayor.
All right. Supervisor DeMartini? We can unmute his mic, please.
Can you hear me now, Mayor?
Yes, I can.
Okay, nobody hates computers more than I do. The only thing I have for the report tonight is just the final reminder of the Stanislaus County Business Grant Program. The deadline for this is the 28th, which is Friday, and we have $50 million in grants to give out. These applications are not first come, first serve, so you have until the 28th to complete your application. You just have to be in business for at least 1 year, have a business license, and have a business that's been affected by COVID-19, which is many businesses. We also have, I think, $4 million of that 15 to designated for nonprofits too, have been affected by COVID-19. So I think you're probably aware of the program, but the 28th is the last day to apply. If any business has difficulty in filling out the application or have questions, we have county staff that can help you fill out your application. And that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, Supervisor. All right, at this point, we will adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be held on September 14th, 2020 at 6 p.m. So thank you all for joining us this evening and have a good night.
Good night.